2024, last round of the ASRA Midwest Series at Blackhawk Farm, September 2024, and I am planning on having a big weekend this weekend. Put a lot into this weekend, a lot of front-end geometry changes, changed springs, changed a whole bunch of stuff, got a bunch of help from friends, and planning on making my goal of hitting 18s at some point this year. I'm planning on doing it this weekend. Planning on doing 4 races on Saturday, 4 races on Sunday. We've already done GTL. I forgot to put my camera on it. But now we are in lightweight SuperSport, so let's see what we got. I am crowded all the way onto the inside. There's 4 of us across this row. I hate starting inside, and please don't look at my revs on this start because it was terrible. So here we go. I really do not like starting on the inside here. But I want to keep contact with that 518. 518's been my litmus test this entire year. If I can try to keep up with him, then I can improve. He's a rider who's capable of low 18s, probably even better than that. And my issue is if I lose contact with him in the beginning of these races, then I can lose contact with him for the entire race. If I see him at the end of the second lap, that's usually when I come into it and I kind of settle in and I can actually try to keep pace and learn something from him. So I'm going to try my best to keep right with him. 4 and 5 is where I make up most of my time on this track. The bus stop and especially the carousel, you're going to see it this entire video, is where I am just giving away so much time. But we're with him now. So you'll see he'll end up making a little mistake coming in here, and I go a little wide, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have just followed right behind him because I opened the door for Turtle Man to go right by me. And well, Maxim and I have been talking quite a bit. I knew something that I don't think a lot of his competitors knew about this weekend, was that he was going to be absolutely ready to go for this weekend. So he texted me a couple pictures on track days he's been doing, that he'd been running in 19s, and well, my best laps are 19s, so I knew I was going to be battling with him. So I'm going to try to hold on to him, and we're going to see if we can hold on to the 518 in front of us. Now, here's where you're going to see these 2 guys. This is where I lose all of my time, and it happened for most of the weekend through the carousel there, is where they pull from me, and then I'm able to claw some of it back in 4 and 5, but can I keep clawing it back in 4 and 5, or do they beat me enough? So we got a red flag going on, and I'm going to get to restart on the inside again. I hate getting cramped 4 wide on the inside. It's not only that you're cramped on there, it's that you got no margin for error. If something goes bad, the row behind you can't get through. I hate starting 4 wide. So I got a better start that time. It's not going to actually result in a better position gain for me from here. That's the loudest machine on the planet right in front of me. I probably could have squeeze that left so that the 518 couldn't get past me right away, but I don't know, and normally I don't try to be twitchy on the beginnings. I don't want to end up on my back. It kind of sucks when you end up on your back. But I'm back in the familiar spot behind the 518, and the 57 is in front of him, and I know these 2 are fairly, I shouldn't say equal, but I know that the 518 wants to keep up with the 57 because that's probably his next mark on the guy he wants to be able to keep up with and eventually pass. So I missed a shift, so there's a very good chance somebody's going to be coming on my inside on this one. And I probably should have learned from the last time that Turtle Man's going to be right there, and of course he is. Now there's a bike off on the side there. I made a mental note to myself that if somebody was going to protest him passing me on that one, that 100% that would have been on me. Just passing under the waving yellow. So I just jumped forward. I think there's 2 laps left in this thing now. So Turtle Man and I are still right behind the 518. I know that since we'd been talking before this race, I know that he is trying something new on the front straightaway, where he's trying something new to get into turn 1. He's doing the lighter, longer thing to get a faster release or just roll speed through turn 1, but he's letting off real early. So if I can get inside of him, I've been doing this all race, I've been positioning myself off to the side. If he brakes too early, I'm going to try to go inside. But he didn't do it on that one. There were a couple earlier where I could have potentially pushed the issue, and I just never felt totally confident in it, but I thought about it. This one is where you're going to really see where they're just taking off from me in this carousel, and it's because I got too much bitch in me to just fucking pull the throttle at that point, and they'll walk me by probably 3-4 tenths every time in the carousel right there. And then I'll be able to get the reason I'm even with them is because I can make it back up in 4 and 5, but I'm just getting walked in the carousel. So this turn 6 silo is one that I'd worked on quite a bit, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. But that was my major focus for this entire weekend. It's, if you saw my last video, it's the point where I know I can make up the most amount of time. So you heard me, I missed a shift coming into the last lap on that turn. So I'm going to have one bike blow by me. I think it's a 14-year-old on a Kramer, who's pretty much embarrassed most of us this entire weekend. Yeah, and I don't know what that was. I assume that was my first ever false neutral that I've ever had. Let me show you one more time. It's like I was in gear, and it just went in between 2 gears, and I didn't know if my engine was blowing up, so I wanted to get off as quickly as possible because I'm not about to pay $1,000 for cleanup and, you know, make the track wait 20 minutes. But I'd never experienced that before because I was completely in my downshift. So I got the bike restarted, and I asked, can I go in at 3 or can I make the whole lap? I wanted to make the whole lap because I wanted to find out if the bike was actually all right. Maybe a little bit selfish of me. But I did want to, you know, verify that the bike was completely all right. So my dad had actually come out to this race, which was awesome. I finally got him to come out this year and come visit, see what this whole thing is about and see what his son is actually up to, and, you know, why I don't socialize with other people and why I don't have any money and why I say I can't do anything. It's because I'm doing this. And I know he got a little bit of a scare out of that one because there was one bike that didn't show back up, and it was me, and all of a sudden they're making an announcement that bike pickup and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh shit. Well, crap. Oh, sorry, Dad. Anyway, here we are on Lightweight GP. This one's very cool because there's like 30 bikes on this grid. So it's a double race. It's Lightweight GP and 400 GP. And at this point, I just want to say thank you to all of the lightweight riders for like literally the entire year. Lightweight was the place to be. I got so much help. I got to know so many of the riders in lightweight really well this year. Obviously, we're all competitors, but I got so much help from people that, you know, I'm racing against, and yet 20 minutes before the race, people are coming by to give me help on front end geometry stuff, and just, you know, because I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to this, and I don't know what I don't know, and I'm kind of a fish out of water, and lightweight has just been awesome this year. So thank you to everybody that competed in lightweight. Midwest lightweight was awesome this year. So on this one, I get to start on the outside, which is where I want to start. I would rather start 7th and be on the outside than 3rd and be on the inside. And then, as per usual, we have a little bit of a mix-up and we get to start 4 wide again. I'm pretty sure that was my spot, but maybe I read the thing wrong. All right, here we go. Dude, it's fucking cool going into a turn with like 16 bikes. All right, so I know that I just got around a bike that I don't normally get to ride in front of. So for this whole first lap, I'm wondering when he's going to be coming up next to me. Now, I know I want to protect the inside on this. I don't want somebody to come inside on the carousel. I had a feeling he was going to come in the inside on the bus stop, so I left it open because I don't know why. I was being courteous, which I shouldn't have been courteous. That's my spot at that point, so whatever. All right, let's keep going. There is a bike that I assume is going to come by me at some point this lap. I don't think he's going to get me through here or into 6. I do assume he's going to get me going into 7, though. But he doesn't. He'll get me on the front straightaway, though. But anyway, once he gets by, that gives me plenty of time. I am settled in. Let's go racing. All right, so that 518 is in my sights. That's a litmus test. That's what I want to stay behind. Now the loudest noise in the world. I thought that Beamer was going to blow the earplugs out of my eardrums. I've never been that close to the full grunt of the exhaust of that bike before. Losing a bit of time through there, but I'm going to try to make it back up, going through 4 or 5. Now, I've been bitching about the carousel stuff. It is something that I think I can fix. So I know in the lightweight SuperSport race, we were generally running low 20s, but mainly high 19s. And so my quickest this year had been a 19.3. Obviously, I've stated many times on this channel that my goal was to hit an 18 this weekend. I was dead set on it, so I'm going to try to hit an 18. If I can stay with this bike in front of me, which I don't expect to for very long, the only time I ever see the bike in front of me normally is when he's lapping me in a GTL race. However, the 2 bikes in front of him, the 518 and then the 400 rider, who turns out to be a Moto America rider, if I can stay with them, dude, these guys are going to drag me into the 18s. So that's the goal. So I can see he just had a little bit of a wiggle going in. He's doing the same thing that I do. When you get the rear end, it just wiggles a little bit when you're coming in. If you're braking real hard and you're having to slip the clutch to actually, match revs, it kind of sets when you can actually start to turn in. And I'm mentioning that because that's going to become relevant for me later. I'm missing the entrance of the bus stop a little bit, which is probably causing me a 10th or 2 loss each time by not being able to get my body over the grass area. But I mean, we're still here. All the goals are in front of us. 518 is still up there. I'm pretty sure that 57 is going to get around him at some point, and then I'm going to try to stay with the 400 rider that's right in front of me for as long as I can. Obviously, I got a little bit of motor on him because I'm on a 650 and he's on a 400. He's clearly quicker through the technical part of the track. I get to make up a little bit of ground on him on the 2 big straightaways just because I have a bike with, I don't know, 15, 18 more horsepower, even if I weigh 80 pounds more. So there goes a 660. I'm pretty sure that's a 660. Those things are really fast. Okay, so 400 rider just looked back to see, did I just grow 20 more horsepower? No, that was actually another bike that just went in between us. This is a terrible carousel for me. Carousel is absolutely 100% something I can fix. It's just a little bit of bitch in me. And I have run it quicker to go more towards the outside and change the lane I'm in, but it just felt like when I was practicing on the Friday before this, that the inside was quicker. But if I would have looked at this video that night, I would have seen that what I was doing was the one spot I was getting absolutely killed. So turn 6 to turn 6 silo there. That's the spot that in my previous video I showed that myself compared to a 16.8 lap. That's about where I was losing 1 second because of how poorly I got through T6 to T6S, as I've been calling it. So I had Ryan Nolan ride my bike on the practice day on Friday, and I just watched from that area. And while I don't know exactly how to do what he does, on this lap, I was able to emulate it closer than I have ever emulated it before. I get a little wiggle, and I knew I was going faster than I ever had. Despite how bad this carousel was, as soon as I got through 6 silo, I knew I was on my fastest lap that I've ever been on. And these guys were going to keep dragging me lower and lower and lower into lap times. So I'm obviously losing a bit of time to these guys, but I'm not out of this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to catch up to at least one of the two in front of me by the end of this race. So this is where I get through 6 silo better than I ever had. It doesn't look that much different, but man, to actually keep your hand on the throttle that whole time, I got a little wiggle. That was as hard as I'd have ever driven through there, and I could just see my lap timer light up. Green, green, green. Let's fucking go. So the 518 and the 400 are battling quite a bit right in front of me, and I'm going to drive this in deep, and I'm just going to follow him. I'm going to catch up. I see he has an issue. Let me preface this one a little bit. So the reason I haven't made this video, the reason I've been waiting 2 weeks or more is because I've been dwelling on how fucking stupid this crash was on me. This was an intermediate level track day crash of somebody who gets, I mean, this is your typical target fixation thing. I drove this in deeper than I had. Generally, I hit about 114. Like 114.1 or 113.9, that's as quick as I ever get. I drove in 116.6 is what miles per hour. So I was coming in a little bit hotter, but for sure it's one I can easily make. I have to wait until my rear is settled before I can make that turn in. And I see the bike in front of me has an issue, and he's not turning in. And what I expect to happen is that when I'm turning in, I'm expecting him to re-grab gas and go into the spot that I expected to float out to once I go through this turn normally. And he doesn't grab gas and go to the spot I expected him to. About halfway into this turn, you may have heard me yell shit into, well, I didn't yell it into the microphone. I yelled it into my helmet because I knew I was going into the grass. I wanted to aim. I wanted to straighten up because I knew if I hit him and if I was turned over, if I was leaned, it would launch him off his bike. If I hit him and I was straight up as much as possible, we'd be able to just bounce off each other and both of us would be able to just ride through the grass. We did barely brush each other. And then I planned on riding it all the way out into the grass to the tire wall. And I don't have any dirt bike skills, so I made it 6 feet before I put it into the fucking ground. I just wanted to defend myself a little bit on this. I didn't even want to fucking talk about this one because this one's just embarrassing. But this is what happened. So that bike in front of me, I was following him. He didn't go where I expected him to, but at this point exactly, I expected him to regain and go right where I wanted to go. So I didn't want to try to hit the turn how I should have. Hindsight, retrospect, everything, just go right through the turn. I know that now. I didn't because I thought we were going to have a big one. So what I wanted to do was straighten up so we could bounce off each other and neither of us end up on the ground. So right then is when I straightened up a bit. We touched shoulders. I thought I was going to make it all the way to the tire wall. And, well, I didn't. And that's how it finished. So, yeah, I'm not terribly thrilled about that. There's nothing 100% myself. Those are the times on the lightweight GP race. I mean, they dragged me down to 19.4, 19.9, 19.2, then 18.7, and there was no reason they weren't going to keep dragging me down further. I mean, seeing how bad that carousel was for me, there was a half second more just for me to start taking. it sucks because you put so much into these things. But I mean, you look at something like that and you're like, why do they even allow you to go on the racetrack if you're going to be that be that dumb? I mean, that's an intermediate track day person crash. So I did talk to the rider that I bumped into. I went over. I wanted to apologize for what happened, and he and his dad there. Well, I met his dad there by the bike once I saw him, and I mean they were awesome. I found out who he was. Moto America level rider. Actually, he's riding at New Jersey this weekend. Good luck to him. He was running multiple bikes that weekend, but he was on his 400 in that race, obviously. And my understanding from what happened is that his sprocket, the chain had actually jumped off the sprocket. So there was no chance he was ever going to actually accelerate to the spot where I expected him to be at. But that's one of them where I have to take it if it's there. Don't worry about trying to guess what the person's going to be doing. But yeah, just wanted to say thank you to both him and his dad because they were awesome. I think I spent like 5 minutes over there just talking about their season. And then I watched him jump on a lightweight FZ07 for his first time and win the race in a really damn good race. So last thing I wanted to talk about in this video. So I had been trying to compare myself to one of Ryan Nolan's laps, which was a 16.8. No, not trying. I have been comparing myself to it. So there's obvious deficiencies where I know I am deficient. But the two that I had isolated were obviously the carousel. But the main one, the one that I wanted to focus on, was here. So the green lap is my June lap, which is roughly equivalent to my July lap. And where I'm talking about is right about here. So if I click here, you'll see that's where we are on the track. What he is able to do is turn 6 and 6 silo essentially into a single turn, and there's not a whole lot of let off on his throttle. There's a lot of lean, and if you've ever done this before, this looks like it should be easy to do, to just hold the throttle on that entire time. It's not. I had Ryan get on my bike, and I just sat in the corner right there. And I watched him do about 8 laps, and I listened to how he applied the throttle, and it was so different than what I had been doing because I'd always had this stutter, and that stutter ends up turning into, like a 10-mile-an-hour difference by the end of the straightaway. And 10 miles an hour on this straightaway all the way into 7 turns into about a second. So obviously I wasn't able to mimic exactly what he did. But that blue line, which was my line in September versus June, that's substantially better, and I know that's something that I can keep improving on. And that was the difference between, say, a 19.3 lap and an 18.7 lap. Now, let's say I can get another 10th out of that by doing that a little bit better and mimicking that pink line a little bit better. The carousel is one where I probably could get 3/10. I don't know how I can get to 17s on this bike. But obviously, that's going to be the goal for 2025. And then there is a little bit of a difference here going through 2 right there. He's able to carry more speed through there. I think this is an issue of testicular fortitude. This is one I think I can figure out just by lap time repetition, get used to the bike type of thing. The carousel is going to be just me putting more gas to the rear. I'm always a little bit freaked out that rear is going to go. I have like a ridiculous amount of faith in front tires. I don't have nearly the amount of faith in rear tires, yet it's really the rear I shouldn't worry about as much as the front. But yeah, I mean, it was a disappointing weekend for me because I'd been planning on, having I wanted to run all 8 races. I thought I had a pretty good shot of not only just besting my personal best, but actually placing pretty well. And I mean, that didn't end up happening, but I can't say I'm disappointed with trying because that little bit right there, I mean, that's 2 months of work, multiple track days, lots of talking to people, lots of trying to get my head straight. That was 2 months trying to straighten that line out. So I can't say I'm disappointed, and I'm disappointed 2024 ended that way. But at least I hit the 18 right before I crashed 600 feet later. So that's all I had for that weekend.
Yeah, so where does that leave me for 2025? Well, right now it leaves me with a bike that in 2024 has performed admirably, and I have put through a shit ton of abuse. This thing has been awesome. The only time it ever acted up is when it blew a freeze plug at Barber, but I'm going to be honest, I bought the engine for $100, and I'm going to have to expect that it's going to have some issues. The ASRA Midwest Series is done. The year might not be completely over. There is still a chance I get a bug up my butt and try to go south one more time this year. I know it's the wrong bike for it. I know I have less horsepower than any other bike, but I kind of want to do Daytona. Anyway, I think that I can fix the ugly Gosling up a little bit. I did do a track day at Road America. I found another $5 can of Rust-Oleum, and maybe there's a chance that I can try that. This is a bike that has a crazy pedigree at Blackhawk Farms. In fact, previous owner was lap record holder there. This is a project that I think might be done by 2026. If I can get this bike and I can run this to 117s, maybe I will ever feel confident that I can do this bike a little bit of justice. Pretty sure this bike has done 112s at Blackhawk. Certainly not with me on it. I don't think that's ever in my future, but maybe I can get it somewhere close. Maybe somewhere within 4 or 5 seconds. The problem is I bought it and I got totally screwed. And found out it has freeze damage, and somebody stored it with water inside of it, and I don't even know if the engine's ever going to work again. So I already have the radiator repaired. It was just a clown show from everything I found inside of it. So I wanted to get it onto the track in 2024, and as soon as I found the freeze damage, well, I knew it was a problem. This one is a bike that, if you're watching this, there's a non-zero chance that you have raced this bike, and there is also a non-zero chance that you have won a race on this bike. So this bike was my uncle's bike that he has raced for probably 15, 20 years. It's here now. We'll see if I end up keeping it. And this bike is a 700cc overboard, just regular carb setup, flip cams, that type of thing. And so I took it for a lap around Road America on September 23rd. And for the 7/8 of a lap that it ran, dude, that extra horsepower, that 65 versus 80 horsepower, Jesus Christ, that's intoxicating. That extra horsepower. Now, if you haven't ever ridden an SV650 before, you probably wouldn't notice it, but just getting so used to what I feel on that thing versus what I felt on that thing, oh my God. Is that what everybody else gets for acceleration? I'm just kidding. No, I can get that to 17s in 2025. I don't know how, but I'm going to. If I can do that, I'm going to try to do one of these two bikes justice, if I can get one of them running right. So, if you watch this far, thanks for watching.